We stand on the precipice of 2026. The calendar has turned a page. The numbers on the screen have shifted. And there is this collective, almost desperate hope hanging in the air. We tell ourselves that because the date has changed, we have changed. We love the idea of the fresh start, the clean slate, the cinematic montage where the protagonist wakes up one day and suddenly has their entire life together. But let us be brutally honest with ourselves for a moment. If you look closely at the person standing in the mirror today, they are likely carrying the exact same baggage they carried yesterday. The same anxieties, the same broken patterns, the same whispers of procrastination that promise, "I will fix this tomorrow." It is uncomfortable to admit, but a change in the calendar does not equate to a change in character. We are done with dreaming about who we could be. It is time to look at who we actually are. Real transformation is quiet. It is boring. It happens in the shadows when nobody is clapping for you. It is not about a burst of motivation that lasts for a week. It is about the architecture of your daily existence. If you want 2026 to be a year of elevation rather than repetition, we need to dismantle the way you operate and rebuild it, brick by brick. I'm going to walk you through 7 habits. These are not life hacks. They are spiritual imperatives. Some are practical, some are deeply rooted in the tradition of our prophet, peace be upon him. But all of them are necessary. But before we lay the first brick, ask yourself this. Are you actually ready to let go of the person you have been? Or are you just in love with the idea of who you could be? The first habit is about how you enter existence every single morning. Start your day with intention, not reaction. Look at the modern human condition. Most people do not wake up. They are jolted awake. The first thing they reach for is not a thought of gratitude, but a device. They scroll, they check emails, they flood their brains with the demands of the world, with bad news, with other people's lives, before they have even taken a conscious breath. When you do this, you are starting the race 10 steps behind. You are in a state of reaction. You are drifting downstream, letting the current of the world dictate your mood. By noon, you feel exhausted and overwhelmed, and you do not even know why. It is because you surrendered your sovereignty the moment you opened your eyes. Islam offers a radical alternative. It demands that the first act of the day is a deliberate alignment of the soul. We call this the Fajr reality. It is the discipline of prioritizing the Creator over the creation. Even if you just sit for 5 minutes in silence, setting an intention for what this day is for, you change the trajectory of the next 16 hours. You decide, today I will not be a leaf in the wind. I will be an arrow flying toward a target. When you begin with the remembrance of Allah, you anchor your ship before the storm hits. So, tomorrow morning, when your eyes open, do not touch your phone for the first 20 minutes. Instead, touch the floor with your forehead and see if the world doesn't look completely different when you stand back up. This brings us to the second habit, which requires a shift in how you view your own mind. Guard your inputs before you blame your behavior. We live in an era where people are obsessed with willpower. They fight their urges, they battle their addictions. They scream at themselves for having no self-control. But they fail to realize that behavior is just the final link in a chain. You cannot feast your eyes on garbage all day and expect your heart to produce flowers. It is impossible. Lust does not start in the bedroom. It starts with what you allowed your eyes to linger on 3 hours prior. Anger does not start with the shout. It starts with the toxic content you consumed that agitated your spirit. The heart is a vessel. If you pour poison into it from morning until night, through your screen, through your music, through your conversations, do not be surprised when you get sick. Our tradition understood this 1400 years ago. We are taught to guard the gates, the eyes, and the ears. This is not about being a prude. It is about strategic defense. If you control the environment, the behavior controls itself. You do not need superhuman willpower if you are not constantly feeding the beast you are trying to starve. You think you are fighting a battle against your desires, but the truth is, you are the one secretly supplying the enemy with ammunition every time you unlock your screen. And just as we guard the mind, we must honor the vessel that carries it. Habit 3 is to train your body with consistency. There is a misconception that spirituality is only about the soul, and the body is just a shell to be ignored. This is false. A weak body often houses a weak will. When you are sluggish, lethargic, and physically compromised, your worship suffers. Your discipline suffers. Your ability to serve others suffers. We see so much inconsistency in people's lives, and often the root cause is biological. You are tired because you do not move. You are foggy because you eat poorly. Islam views the body as an amanah, a trust given to you by God. It is not yours to trash. It is a vehicle for your journey to the hereafter. Training is not about vanity. It is not about having a sculpted physique to show off on social media. That is ego. We train for capability. We train to build the resilience to stand in prayer, to work hard for our families, to have the energy to do good. It is about proving to yourself that you can do hard things. When you push your body when it wants to quit, you are strengthening the same muscle you use to resist sin. The Prophet, peace be upon him, reminded us that a strong believer is better and more beloved to Allah than a weak believer. So why are you treating your health as if it is optional? Once the body is engaged, the soul needs a rhythm. Habit 4 is the antidote to the chaos of modern life. Anchor yourself with one non-negotiable act of worship. We are drifting. Days bleed into weeks, weeks into months, and we feel this subtle, terrifying disconnection from our purpose. We are not doing anything strictly evil, but we are numb. We are going through the motions. To stop the drift, you need an anchor. You need one act that you perform every single day, no matter what happens. The roof could be on fire. You could be traveling. You could be exhausted. But this one thing gets done. Maybe it is reading 2 pages of the Quran with deep reflection. Maybe it is praying your night prayer, even if it is just 2 short units, but doing it with absolute, unwavering focus. The key here is not quantity. It is quality and consistency. It is about showing up for Allah even when your heart feels dry. This builds a spiritual callus, a toughness. It reminds you of who you serve. When you have one thing in your day that is sacred and untouchable, the rest of your life begins to organize itself around that center. If your entire schedule fell apart tomorrow, what is the one act of worship you would cling to that proves you still know who your master is? Habit 5 is perhaps the most difficult for the modern mind to accept. Spend time alone without stimulation. We are terrified of silence. Have you noticed? We walk to the car, we put in headphones. We wait in line, we pull out the phone. We cook dinner, we have a podcast playing. We are running away from our own thoughts. Why? Because silence is a mirror. When the noise stops, the truth comes out. You have to face your anxieties, your regrets, your unfinished business. It is uncomfortable. But you cannot heal what you cannot hear. Clarity does not come from noise. It comes from stillness. Great spiritual realization has always happened in solitude. The Prophet, peace be upon him, spent time in the cave of Hira before the revelation came. He needed that distance from society to receive the truth. You need kalwa, seclusion. You need to sit with yourself and your Lord with no buffer, no distractions, just you and the reality of your existence. It is in that terrifying silence that you finally find peace. You are so busy trying to stay entertained that you have forgotten what your own soul sounds like when it is crying out for help. From the internal world, we move to the external contribution. Habit 6 is about your place in the world. Build one skill that makes you useful. A massive amount of the anxiety young people feel today comes from a lack of utility. They feel replaceable. They feel like consumers, not contributors. Islam is a religion of action. We believe that provision, or rizq, comes from Allah, but the effort is your responsibility. You must tie your camel. There is a profound dignity in having a craft, something you can point to and say, I can do this, and I can do it well. Stop jumping from trend to trend. Pick one thing in 2026. Maybe it is coding. Maybe it is writing. Maybe it is a trade. Maybe it is public speaking. Whatever it is, master it. Become undeniable. When you are useful to the creation, you find stability. You stop begging for opportunities, and you start creating them. Competence creates confidence. Think of a bird sitting on a tree. It is never afraid of the branch breaking because its trust is not in the branch, but in its own wings. So what skills are you building to ensure you can fly when the branch snaps? Finally, habit 7. It is simple, yet it is the hardest of them all. Speak less. Choose your words as if they were gold coins. We live in a culture of oversharing. Everyone has an opinion on everything. We tweet, we comment, we react, we gossip to fill the awkward silences. But realize this, words have weight. Once they leave your mouth, you can never retrieve them. A loose tongue is a sign of a loose heart. The people with the most authority, the most wisdom, and the most respect are usually the ones who speak the least. They listen, they observe, and when they finally speak, the room stops to listen because their words have value. This is a sign of spiritual maturity. It is the ability to feel an emotion, to have a clever comeback, to want to complain, and to simply choose silence. It saves you from regret. It saves you from hurting others. It saves you from the displeasure of Allah. You think you need to speak up to be heard, but the truth is, your silence often echoes louder and commands more respect than your noise ever could. There you have it. 7 habits, 7 pillars for the year ahead. Now, a word of warning. Do not try to do all of these with 100% intensity starting tomorrow. That is a recipe for burnout. That is the trap of the ego. Pick the ones that stung the most while you were listening. Pick the areas where you are weakest. Start there. Be patient with yourself. You are building a cathedral, not a tent. It takes time. 2026 is just a number on a calendar. It has no power. The power lies in what you choose to repeat, quietly, day after day, when the excitement fades and reality sets in. Let this be the year you stop announcing your moves and start making them. Let this be the year your habits finally catch up to your potential. Peace be upon you.